private, terror, fear, certainly, covered with, glory, glorious, honor, politics, political, politician, battleground, well-trained, equipment, confident, step, attacker, swing swung, had no strength left, the dead, command hill, progress, the beat of his heart, the first explosion of battle, left alive, command point, at last, no one left to fight, with difficulty, in pain, not likely to, lines of soldiers, jealous, jealousy, look pleased, salute, wave them away. A small bird flew down from the top of the tree and sat on Maximus's sword. Could it possibly be the same bird he had seen before the first explosion of battle? That seemed like 100 years ago. He shook his head and reached for the sword. The frightened bird flew away as Maximus pulled his sword out of the tree. Across the field, doctors were trying to help any Roman soldiers who were still alive. Other soldiers were walking slowly through the men on the ground, looking for Germans left alive and killing them quickly. Maximus walked back toward the command point. Something stopped to speak, sometimes stopping to speak to a dying soldier, sometimes calling for water or medical help. He came to a low hill where the bodies of Roman soldiers had been placed, side by side. "Let the sun always be warm on your back," he said softly. "You've come home at last." Your time limit is 1 minute and 15 seconds here. More and more Roman soldiers moved forward onto the battleground. They were well trained and had the best equipment and armor. The Germans were not as good as the confident Roman army, and finally they began to tire. Maximus saw that he was winning and moved up a little higher on the hill. From there he could see and command his men better. The enemy began to lose confidence, and some turned and ran. More joined them, and soon the only Germans on the battlefield were dead or dying. Maximus went back down and walked among them. As he stepped over bodies, he began to relax and let his sword arm fall to his side. Behind him, a dying German suddenly lifted himself from the ground and rushed forward with his sword. Maximus was calling an order to one of his officers when he saw the sudden look of terror on the officer's face, and immediately swung his sword around, cutting off his attacker's head. There was so much power behind the sword that it flew from his hand and landed in a tree. And your time limit is 1 minute and 20 seconds. Maximus had no strength left to pull it out again. The battle had ended. As he looked at the dead around him, he could only think that his men had won and he had lived. Emperor Marcus Aurelius sat on his horse on the top of the command hill, with guards on each side to protect him. He watched as the battle slowly progressed, and it became clear that the Roman army had won. Marcus hoped it would be many years before they had to go to war again. Certainly not before he died. He had no wish to see another battle. He turned to his guards. "I will leave now," he said. "I have seen enough." Maximus looked at his sword in the tree. His face was covered with blood and mud. The beat of his heart was beginning to slow down as the noise of the battle became quieter. There were other sounds now, screams from the dying and cries for help. Time limit 1 minute and 15 seconds. "You're a brave man, Maximus, and a good commander," said a voice behind him. "Let us hope it is for the last time." Maximus turned and saw the emperor. "There is no one left to fight, sir," he said. "There are always people to fight. More glory." "The glory is theirs, Caesar," said Maximus, looking at the lines of dead soldiers. "Tell me," said Marcus, "how can I reward Rome's greatest general?" Let me go home," replied Maximus, quickly. "Ah, home," said Marcus. He gave his arm to Maximus, and they walked together back across the battlefield. All eyes followed the long purple coat and white hair of the emperor. They could see that he moved slowly and with difficulty. He was certainly in pain. Most of the soldiers realized that they were probably seeing him for the last time, and they knew Rome was not likely to have such a good emperor again. Time limit 1 minute and 10 seconds. Marcus Aurelius and his general walked along the road, past the lines of tired soldiers. Hundreds of men resting on the hills stood and raised their swords high in the air when they saw them pass. "They honor you, Caesar," said Maximus. "No, Maximus, I believe they honor you," replied the emperor. Marcus looked across at the crowd of brave men and raised his own sword. The men cheered him loudly. Suddenly, Prince Commodus and his guards rode into view. When he heard the cheering and saw the reason for it, Commodus was filled with jealousy. Roman soldiers were honoring a Spaniard above the emperor and his family. It was not right, but he tried to look pleased as he rode up to Marcus and Maximus. "Have I missed the battle?" he said, jumping from his horse. "You've missed the war," said Marcus. "We're finished here." Commodus put his arms around his father. "Father, congratulations," he said. "I shall kill 100 animals to honor your success." The time limit is 1 minute and 20 seconds. "Let the animals live and honor Maximus," said Marcus. "He won the battle." "General," Commodus said, turning to Maximus, "Rome salutes you, and I salute you as a brother." He opened his arms and put them around Maximus. "It has been too long since we last met." "How long? 10 years, my old friend?" Commodus turned to Marcus. "Here, father, take my arm." Marcus let his hand rest on his son for a minute. Then he said, "I think maybe I should leave you now." Commodus called for Marcus's horse, and some of the guards ran forward to help him. The old man waved them away and looked at Maximus. Maximus came quickly to his side and helped him onto the horse. Without a word to his son, he rode slowly away. Time limit 1 minute. Good luck.